Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
Oh, sorry. You surprised me. I was just here editing and trying to launch the latest episode of Black Man Spy podcast.
Woohoo!
Fantastic.
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
I we were saying earlier in the show, it is amazing how everything is coming magically full circle to Trump Russia. Once again, the new Truth Social, right? This is the new crime upon crime. I don't know, something, Russian money, illegal, connected to Putin. I mean, it is amazing, isn't it? How, and as one of our callers said, Malcolm Nance was right, and Malcolm Nance said it first. I'm like, yes, and here we are.
And it always is. And again, I don't know what I did to piss off the god Apollo to make me the Black Cassandra. So, we are how many years into this now since I wrote Plot to Hack America, 2016.
Yeah.
Almost 7 years into this. And we are finding out that this, what this really shows us. Let me tell you what this really shows. The ability of Washington to do two things. One, really protect people in power from the little bits of information that come out and spell out a plan. I'm gonna have to name names. Merrick Garland has done more to ensure that Donald Trump stayed in power, not stayed in power, but is not held accountable and quite possibly could become president of the United States because of this institutional belief that good people wouldn't intentionally do this stuff.
Yeah.
And that you're going to collect the evidence to show that they did this stuff. And on the other hand, the Trump people know the laws in the courts are there to hide behind, not to actually gain information. So when they allowed Robert Mueller to be the person to do his investigation, they knew he was going to be slow as hell, slow as molasses, and was going to, in the end, pull his punches. Here's where we are now. We're in a week where Donald Trump could possibly be indicted for something that was actually killed a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? And for something we've all known about since 2016.
Yeah.
That he paid off Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
It's just utterly amazing. We're going to find out so much stuff. I said this in September 2016. It's all going to come out. If you had asked me, if all the institutions of government in the United States would be working to keep it from coming out so that they could say that they were genteel and honest and on the right side of the law every time, right down to little dots, I's, T's, I would have said no, they actually will stand up for the law quickly. Well, I was wrong about that part, but we are getting information out.
Yeah.
Fine.
Well, I mean, once again, this is the latest. How many times do we have to say Russia is not our friend?
Right.
The Russian fighter jet harassed and then collided with the U.S. drone over the Black Sea on Tuesday, forcing the drone down in international waters. One official said the Russian pilot showed complete ineptitude, and it was shocking to see such poor flying by a military pilot in an operation environment. I mean, not only did you put your money where your mouth is and go over there and serve, but you've been the one, and you were all over Twitter calling out this myth of this, invincible Russian military, right?
And I'm still fighting on Twitter over this. This is amazing. Okay, first off, an assignment for all of your listeners. If you're following me on Twitter, okay, you really, when you see these people like Kim.com who are being retweeted by Elon Musk, or like this loser, Miles Ian Chiang, an incel that lives in a basement in Malaysia, who considers themselves an expert on right-wing conservatism, coming out and attacking liberals out there like Tara Dublin and all these other people, you must comment on their threats. We need to wash these people away with derision because guys like Kim.com get retweeted by Elon Musk and will get hundreds of thousands of likes for crazy talk that none of us would ever allow our children or anybody else to do.
Yeah.
So, the the Russians going after the drone, yes, they're incompetent, because their Air Force has been decimated. Anyone that was a good pilot's dead, right? Because the Ukrainians know how to fight. But going up and attacking this drone does nothing. This is why we have drones, okay? One other thing, like the Chinese balloon, coming up to that drone, all right, gave us more insight to their intelligence on how it looks when they're attacking drones than it does the cost of that drone.
Yeah.
10 million bucks, we got hundreds of these drones. All
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But, expect the Russians.
So let's talk about, you tweeted about a few things. You said, I want to put some focus on a fact about Ukrainian casualties. Out of my 20-man platoon, 100% have been injured. 90% were small shrapnel. They were back in operation in 2 weeks. But the Ukrainian medevac system puts them in a hospital to heal, then 2 weeks convalescent leave. Because there's obviously a lot of, I don't know if the Russians invented disinformation, right? But
well,
it's their bag.
This was a response to a Washington Post article that said, the Ukrainian army was short of skilled soldiers, and were saying that they had no guys left who were actual combat experienced and that everybody was dead. And I read that article. First off, lead writer for that article was the Washington Post East Africa bureau chief, who's an Irish woman and who lived in South Africa, who apparently has never seen a war. And she quoted one officer and two anonymous sources. And I thought, that's crazy. Did you not? Everyone in the Ukrainian army is combat experienced. Who do you think is decimating the Russians right now? But she wrote this doom and gloom article that the Ukrainian army is like 1 minute away from breaking. Then she chose this number from a German source that said the Ukrainians had lost 120,000 men. Well, I estimated that the Ukrainians have lost 17,000 dead. And that's extrapolating up from their declared numbers in December, which was 14,000. But for every man that gets wounded in Ukraine, maybe 20% of them are permanently taken out of combat. But the Ukrainian medical vac system takes you out. You get a little piece of shrapnel in your hand, you're out.
Yeah.
But you're returned sometimes 2 and 3 times to the battlefield. So every time you're wounded, that number of wounded goes up each time you're wounded. So if it's 120,000 wounded, that means that there's 100,000 guys who were wounded. You multiply that by 1.5. The real number of guys who are seriously injured and out of the fight is somewhere around 20, 30,000. But the Russians, when we say 160,000 dead, we mean dead, never returning. And their casualty numbers are probably closer to 400,000. But the Russians never take wounded people off the battlefield, so they die. So the article is completely disingenuous, doom and gloom. The Ukrainians are going to lose. Oh, my God. So, where have these people been for the last year?
Yeah, let's talk about Ron DeSantis. He established his position that helping Ukraine fend off Russia's invasion is not a significant interest for the United States. He said we should, the isolationist position, we should focus on our own borders. It's a territorial dispute between Ukraine and Russia. Oh, my God, Russian talking point, right?
Oh, my God. This is the same guy, all right? The American Revolution, Battle of Lexington and Concord, right, has no great interest for the colonies of the United States or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, right? Abraham Lincoln, the secession of the southern states has no real interest of the United States. World War I, not in the United States' interest. France, Pearl Harbor. This guy doesn't seem to how is he a military officer?
Yeah.
Lloyd, this is a man who has given up on the oath, does not any longer care. We literally liberated Europe for the very reason we're fighting in Ukraine, right? Against a hegemonistic, autocratic dictator who is seizing nations.
Yeah.
Poland would be next. Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, which means NATO would be embroiled in full-scale warfare.
Yeah. And also we were saying that, Lindsey Graham, there's a couple of them, Marco Rubio, will, tiptoe up and speak out, not even by name, won't call DeSantis or Trump out by name. I mean, Marco Rubio was on, was that your chicken impression? That's good. Okay. Oh, we have a chorus of chickens for Lindsey and Marco. And Marco Rubio said he disagreed with his state's governor, Ron DeSantis, over his characterization of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Rubio was on with Hugh Hewitt, who began by noting DeSantis just broke with much of the Republican Party with his announced stance on the war in Ukraine. In his statement, DeSantis referred to Russia's invasion as a territorial dispute, said that helping Ukraine is not a vital national interest for the United States. Rubio said, I think we do have an interest in aiding Ukraine, even if I don't think it's the number one interest in the world. He laid out how the war in Ukraine represents a national security interest for the U.S. But again, timid, weak, right? This kind of statement just...
You know what? Joe Biden's got to respond to this, because you saw Tucker Carlson was putting out there that this shows Biden's weak and DeSantis is strong. We literally invaded Europe in 1944 on this very principle. The principle that autocrats and dictators cannot invade Europe and take over and subjugate people, right? Without the collective world coming to their defense of democracy. Somebody should ask him. Every journalist should say that. Was the United States wrong to engage Adolf Hitler in World War II?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then how come it's the same? If we were right then, how come we're wrong now? Was he actually a lawyer? I'm really starting to wonder about that. How was he a military judge, advocate general? The same people that tried the Nazis for all of these exact same crimes. This guy, you know what? I don't think he's ruined it. I think he's so desperate to go after Trump that, he's willing to say Trump words.
Yeah,
and he's
exactly.
Great face.
Let's talk about J6 for a minute. Somebody tweeted, we didn't want to visit our political prisoner, Kyle Young, today. We got turned away. They just canceled visits. We drove 12 and a half hours. This is devastating for our children who are missing their father. And you said, no, he went to commit crimes and overthrow the government of the United States. Even now, you believe a con man over the law. This is going to continue to be painful for you because you think you are above the law. And I hate to say it, but as of this moment, as it regards Merrick Garland, you're right. I hope that we're wrong. I hope we're wrong this week, next week, sometime soon. But you also tweeted, by the way, 10,000 people went to overthrow the government on J6. Over 1,000 have been arrested and 536 convicted so far or pled guilty. By the way, 0.05% were black. Accept the facts. It was a pure white rebellion against America, which is exactly why I think it hasn't been prosecuted to the extent it should be.
Sure. One journalist actually said there were more black people out on the streets selling MAGA hats.
Yeah.
to the people out there than there were inside the rebellion. And of course, black men inside that Capitol were very easy to spot. One guy, Emmanuel Jackson, was sentenced to, I think a couple of years in prison for assaulting a police officer with a pole. Enrique Tarrio was the founder of the Proud Boys. Half black, half Cuban. Where did that come from?
Who's the black officer that said, I've never heard the N-word that many times? And he's a tough guy and was pretty shaken.
I saw that on the live stream as it was happening. One guy, why should I have to pay welfare for people like you? I'm like, what the hell? And then it went to fighting. But that family that wanted to go visit their political prisoner, the wife came back and said, well, no, he was there defending our rights. The law does not change for you because you're white.
Yep.
They think it does. You don't get a pass, right? That guy who her husband was the man that took a taser and shot Officer Mike Fanone twice, causing him to have a heart attack.
Yep, absolutely.
5 years. Enjoy your time in prison. You'll never, ever be able to touch a weapon again.
Yep. Malcolm, that's long as usual because we love you with the heat of 1,000 white hot suns.
Oh, my God. We didn't talk about Idris Elba as 007.
Well, you've just said it all. All right, love you, Malcolm.
Subscribe to his Substack and subscribe to his podcast.
Black Man Spy.
Yes.
Woohoo! All right.
Bye.
Reproductive rights are under attack in America, and abortion has become illegal in many states. Equality Vines created Choice Sauvignon Blanc and Choice Rosé to support a woman's fundamental right to make her own personal and private health care decisions. We invoke the memory of the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a valiant advocate for choice, by encircling our bottle with her famous collar. A percentage of the proceeds of this wine will be donated to organizations fighting for women's reproductive rights around the country. For all you viewers on the Political Voices Network, go to choice.equalityvines.com and type in the promo code PVN to get 10% off on Choice Sauvignon Blanc and Choice Rosé.